was sitting, I can see your belly. And that was right over there at the back of the room. These people down here, you know.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly, and we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
You know that feeling when someone who's been fake nice to your face for years finally gets exposed? Multiply that feeling by 1,000,000, add forced laughs, awkward sing-alongs, and pure Hollywood entitlement, and you get the downfall of James Corden. And what made it so satisfying is that this wasn't a random cancellation or a single misunderstood moment. This was years, decades, of people quietly saying the same thing. Yeah, that guy's a nightmare. Eventually, the mask slipped, and the image he built as the nicest guy in the room collapsed. James Corden didn't just fall from grace. He tripped over his own ego, rolled downhill, and blamed everyone else along the way. To understand why this downfall feels so deserved, you have to go back to a time that feels almost unbelievable now. A time when James Corden was actually liked. In 2007, he co-created Gavin and Stacey with Ruth Jones. The show became a massive hit in the UK. It was funny, heartfelt, and relatable, and James played Smithy. Loud, immature, annoying, but somehow lovable. Audiences loved it, and overnight, James went from a struggling actor to a household name. This was his golden moment, where humility could have carried him for life. But that humility didn't last. According to people around him, fame hit fast and hard. His attitude reportedly changed almost immediately. Even Rob Brydon had to pull him aside and tell him to calm down. His own sisters warned him not to let success turn him into that guy. When your family is already checking your ego that early, that's not random. That's a warning sign. Instead of listening, James leaned into entitlement. He tried to turn Gavin and Stacey's success into sketch shows and movie roles, and most of them failed. Horn and Corden was destroyed by critics. Lesbian vampire killers became a joke almost instantly. The reviews weren't just bad, they were brutal. But James didn't reflect. He got defensive. Every failure was someone else's fault, and every criticism felt like a personal attack. That mindset followed him everywhere. And then came a moment that should have humbled him for good. At the 2010 Glamour Awards, Patrick Stewart publicly called him out on stage for being disengaged and unprofessional. Not privately, not subtly, right there in front of everyone. And that moment said everything people behind the scenes had been saying for years.
For whatever it's worth, I like your belly, so. But I would pay to see Sir Patrick Stewart dying on stage any day, so.
For the people that haven't seen my belly, is there anyone who hasn't got a... It's just there. Okay, can we get a taxi ready, please? The old man going home. Okay.
This wasn't some random internet troll taking shots for attention. This was Patrick Stewart, an acting legend, calmly and politely calling out unprofessional behavior. And James didn't handle it with grace. Instead of apologizing or taking the criticism on the chin, he fired back, annoyed, snapping, and mocking Stewart right there in front of the audience.
Sorry, I'm waiting for the punchline. Go on. No, seriously, go on.
Okay.
No, go on. You can see my belly, and we can all see you dying right now. Let's go for it. Here we go.
That moment didn't end his career, but it exposed something crucial. James Corden could not take criticism without lashing out. Fast forward to 2014, and CBS made one of the strangest choices in modern late-night history by handing The Late Late Show to him. Most Americans barely knew who he was. Craig Ferguson had just stepped away, expectations were low, and it felt like a gamble. But CBS had a surprise hit on its hands, Carpool Karaoke, and the truth is, it worked. Really worked. Watching celebrities sing badly in traffic was genuinely entertaining at first. Adele, Paul McCartney, Lady Gaga, the clips went viral instantly. Billions of views. Suddenly, James Corden was everywhere. Award shows, movies, Broadway, voice roles, hosting gigs. America completely bought the image. He wasn't edgy. He wasn't threatening. He was the cheerful British guy who just wanted everyone to have a good time. The perfect late-night host for a clean, advertiser-friendly era. But while viewers saw a lovable goofball, people behind the scenes were seeing something else entirely. Crew members started talking. Writers started whispering. Staff noticed patterns. How he treated people below him. How he spoke when the cameras were off. How quickly his mood flipped when things didn't go his way. Then came the moment that cracked the illusion for a lot of viewers. During a game on Jimmy Kimmel Live, James was asked to name 2 of his camera operators, people he worked with every single day.
2 of the cameramen in this room.
It's a different crew tonight, actually.
People who helped make his show possible, and he couldn't name a single one. Not one. The room fell into an awkward silence. Jimmy Kimmel tried to laugh it off and keep things moving, but James froze, and that moment said everything. It wasn't about forgetting names. It was about how little he seemed to value the people around him, unless they were famous, powerful, or useful to him. From there, the mask started slipping faster. In 2017, just days after the Harvey Weinstein scandal exploded into public view, James decided it was somehow a good idea to joke about it at a public event. The timing was awful. The subject was serious, and the response was brutal. The crowd didn't laugh. The internet didn't laugh. What was supposed to be edgy humor instead exposed a complete lack of awareness, and confirmed what people behind the scenes had been saying for years.
Right here in LA, it's so beautiful. Harvey Weinstein has already asked tonight up to his hotel to give him a massage. I don't know whether that groan was that you like that joke or you don't like that joke. If you don't like that joke, you should probably leave now.
You'd think the reaction from the crowd would have been a clear signal to stop and move on, but he didn't. James Corden kept pushing, doubling down and trying to force the joke to land, even as the discomfort in the room grew.
It has been weird this week though, hasn't it? Watching Harvey Weinstein in hot water. Ask any of the women who watched him take a bath. It's weird watching Harvey Weinstein in hot water. Harvey Weinstein wanted to come tonight, but he'll settle for whatever potted plant is closest.
Rose McGowan publicly called him out, saying exactly what people behind the scenes had been saying for years, that he was tone-deaf, self-centered, and clueless. And then James made what might have been the biggest self-own of his career. He did a Reddit AMA. If you ever want a real-time case study on how to burn your reputation to the ground, that thread deserves its own university course. The comments flooded in. Waiters, crew members, assistants, writers, strangers who'd crossed paths with him once and never forgot it. And the stories all sounded the same. Entitled, aggressive, dismissive, rude, completely unaware of how he treated people. One comment summed it up perfectly. A massively entitled nightmare. James answered a few safe, surface-level questions and then disappeared. But by then, it was too late. The narrative had flipped. The internet wasn't asking if James Corden was awful anymore. They were asking how he'd managed to get away with it for so long. And from there, things only got worse. When the internet truly turned on James Corden, it wasn't because of one explosive scandal. It was death by 1,000 stories. Once people realized they weren't alone, once they felt safe speaking up, the floodgates opened. And what came out painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. Which brings us to Cats. Because you genuinely cannot talk about James Corden's downfall without mentioning one of the most cursed movies ever made. Cats wasn't just bad, it was legendary levels of bad. James played Bustopher Jones, a CGI nightmare with human hands, and the film instantly became a cultural punchline. Critics destroyed it, audiences walked out, memes took over the internet, and instead of owning it or laughing at himself, James did what he always does. He distanced himself. He later admitted he never even watched the final cut.
I don't know, I haven't seen it, so I've not watched the film.
Imagine being so embarrassed by your own project that you refuse to even watch it, yet still expect people to take you seriously as an entertainer. That alone didn't end James Corden, but it reinforced a pattern everyone was starting to recognize. James loved the spotlight when things went well, and vanished the moment they didn't. Then came the prom, and this one did real damage, especially with younger audiences. James, a straight man, played a flamboyant gay character built almost entirely on outdated stereotypes. Critics called it tone-deaf. LGBTQ+ viewers felt mocked rather than represented. And once again, James handled the backlash badly. Instead of listening, he doubled down, framing the criticism as people being too sensitive and completely missing the point. And once again, a familiar pattern showed up. Whenever James Corden is criticized, empathy is nowhere to be found. But the moment that truly locked in his public villain arc didn't happen on a red carpet or a movie set. It happened in a restaurant. In 2022, the owner of Balthazar publicly banned James Corden. Not quietly, not behind closed doors, publicly. He called him, quote, the most abusive customer my staff has ever dealt with in 25 years. According to the story, James allegedly screamed at staff because his wife's omelet was made incorrectly. Not once, but twice. Multiple accounts described him berating servers, accusing them of incompetence, and making the entire restaurant uncomfortable. This wasn't a bad day. It wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a restaurant owner risking backlash just to defend his employees. James tried to do damage control, claiming the story was exaggerated, that that he didn't scream, that he was just frustrated. But it didn't matter, because once that story broke, dozens more followed. Flight attendants, hotel staff, TV crew members, writers, drivers, different cities, different years, same behavior. People described him ignoring his own family in public while snapping at workers. Others said he treated assistants like furniture. Directors claimed he was the most difficult host they had ever worked with. And by that point, no one was calling it coincidence anymore.
The most difficult and obnoxious presenter I've ever worked with is James Corden. I went along to Elstree and I sat in the darkness and kind of watched James on the set of League of Their Own rehearse. No audience, no other panel members, just him on his own. And he got he came to a point where he had to read from a card, and he had the card up like that, and he was reading from it. And it was kind of a joke in there. And he kind of just like, I remember, he just looked at it like, that's not funny. That's not funny. But what? He was like, that's shit. That's shit. We have to rewrite that. We have to rewrite this. And I don't know, maybe he was having a bad day, I thought, and the writing's just not been up to scratch. But I definitely thought, man, you know, somebody wrote that. Not nice.
Writers alleged he tried to lowball their pay and take credit for ideas he didn't even come up with. And that's when the nice guy image finally collapsed. Because here's the truth. James Corden wasn't exposed by one massive scandal. He was exposed by consistency. Every story lined up. Every account matched. And once people actually started paying attention, they realized the warning signs had always been there. Even the Late Late Show started to feel different. Carpool karaoke stopped hitting the same way. Guests looked less excited. Segments felt forced. The energy was gone. And without viral clips to hide behind, James's personality was suddenly front and center. Ratings dipped. Clips underperformed. And Hollywood did what it always does. It quietly stepped back. There were no dramatic announcements, no public cancellations, just distance, fewer opportunities, less enthusiasm. And that silence said more than any headline ever could. Then, in April 2023, James announced he was leaving The Late Late Show. No controversy, no celebration, just an ending that felt strangely fitting for a career undone not by one moment, but by a pattern people could no longer ignore.
I've decided to sign for one more year on the show, and that this will be my last year.
He framed it as wanting more time with family, a fresh chapter, a quieter life. But let's be honest, when almost everyone dislikes you, family time is usually just PR language for an exit strategy. When James Corden's final episode aired, big names showed up and polite smiles were exchanged. But it didn't feel celebratory. It felt relieved, like everyone involved was ready to close the door and move on. And the most telling detail came afterward. CBS didn't replace him. They didn't search for a new host. They didn't reboot the format. They didn't even try to recreate what he had. They just ended The Late Late Show entirely. That's the ultimate Hollywood insult. Not being canceled, but being deemed so unnecessary that the entire slot disappears once you're gone. So why does James Corden's downfall feel so satisfying? Because it wasn't random, it wasn't unfair, and it wasn't exaggerated. We've all met someone like him, the fake nice coworker, the boss who smiles in meetings and explodes afterward, the person who takes credit, avoids blame, and plays the victim when confronted. James Corden didn't lose his career because people were mean. He lost it because the mask finally slipped, and once it did, nobody wanted to help him put it back on. This wasn't a tragedy, it was karma, arriving late but arriving right on time. So what do you think? Was James Corden misunderstood, or was this downfall completely deserved after years of fake niceness and behind-the-scenes horror stories? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into celebrity downfalls, influencer implosions, and internet chaos. Because nobody escapes forever, and the next chapter might just break the internet.